Hello everyone, it's Oliver Harper here, back for a new Q&A. And yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy month. Way too hot. The last week was unbearable in the UK. I know some other parts of the world have been hit with major heat waves, and I spent about 3 days in my office kind of working, and by midday it was just literally just dripping with sweat. And I had a fan next to me, but just like blowing warm air around. And I think I need to invest in an AC unit or something. But do you want to spend all that money just for a couple of days of the year where it's like really hot? I got to like 36 degrees in Norwich. It's even hotter in Cambridge, apparently, near like 38. But yeah, so I'm really happy now that the temperature has dropped, so I can function normally. Spending just most of the day just sitting there, sweating and having no energy to do anything. It just gets so hot. And sleeping at night was a bit difficult, but yeah, back to normal, so to speak. I do apologise that the Ninja Turtles review hasn't come out for July. I was sort of working on that, and then I had to sort of jump onto the action documentary and basically finish up the final cut for that, which I finished on Saturday. So I'm really pleased with it. There's a bit of music that needs to go into it, but in its current form, everything's kind of looking in top shape. Intros added and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been pretty exciting and pretty stressful trying to get all that done in time. So everything's kind of on track. So if you were a backer of the documentary, things are going smoothly, which is very good for me. But let's crack on with the first question for the Q&A of July, and the first one comes from Matthew. Who is your favourite editor, and do you see yourself editing feature films in the future? Well, I have two favourite editors. Stuart Baird, who edited Superman the Movie, Lethal Weapon, Casino Royale. He's Richard Donner's guy, but also he went on to work for Warner Brothers, sort of overseeing a lot of movies to essentially save them from being disasters. And Mark Goldblatt, who directed Dead Heat and The Punisher, but his career is really as an editor, editing The Terminator, Terminator 2, Commando. Tons of movies. His CV's ginormous, and he's a great guy. And Stuart Baird is just a proper stiff upper lip Brit, which is great. I don't really see myself editing feature films at the moment. I mean, if something came about, then and I had the opportunity to do so, then I would do it. But it have to be something I'm passionate about, not just take on. I mean, I could sort of, someone's already edited something, I could jump in to sort of, fine tune it, as it were. But it's difficult to see. Difficult to know. That I will be editing a feature film. Obviously, more documentaries in future would be nice. But I can't make any sort of claims or predictions that I'm going to be doing any such role in the next 6 to 12 months. Maybe in about a year, but it's a bit ambitious, I suppose. The next question is from W. Pacheco. Hi Oliver, as the 2010s, is that the nickname for this decade, is drawing to a close, I was wondering if you have any plans to make a video detailing your favourite films of this decade. That's a good question. I've never actually done that before. I've never done a roundup of like the year, for example. Some people do like the top 5 best and worst films. I suppose so. I mean, if that was the case and I was going to do that, that would probably happen after Christmas. And it would probably have to be my favourite film of each year. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I'll put it on my list of things to do and potential videos for this year. But I think I do need to do some sort of roundup video because I've not done one before. I mean, covering new films, on my channel, I mean, they do okay with views, but most people like to visit the channel for some kind of movies of the past. But I do like discussing films that I've seen in the last number of years, and a decade would be quite interesting. So yeah, good possibility. Next question is from Andre. Hi Oliver, a recommendation, God Save Us All. While the MCU and the 1970 show have done great work with the Hulk, the 2003 film has always been looked on as a strange example of the superhero genre. I remember being 5 years old when it came out and the poster scaring the shit out of me. Would this ever be a film you'd consider for a retrospective? Yes, Andre. I saw the film when it came out. I would have been, when was it, 2003? 21, I would have been. And yeah, I remember it being a very dull and boring experience. I went with my sister and one of my friends, and I think she brought her partner, and everyone just kind of walked out a bit like, ooh, that was a bit drab. It's quite a long film as well. It's an interesting kind of movie. The editing style, loads of comic book panels. Ang Lee's, is a wonderful director. I don't think the superhero genre was for him. It's got great special effects in it, supervised by Dennis Muren, who's one of my favourite ILM visual effects artists or supervisors. It's something I've kind of thought about now and again, because people bring it up and say, "Oh, would you do this one?" And some people even said, "Do the Ed Norton one." And I was like, "Oh, I don't like that film out of the MCU." I think the Hulk is worth a revisit. I think it's 2003. It's considered something not so recent, and there's some interesting sort of production stuff on that. And I mean, it's. I think maybe on second, I did buy it on DVD when it came out, sort of give it another go, and I was like, kind of umming and ahhing about it. It's coming out on 4K soon, or it may already be out. So I'll definitely revisit it, and if it's something there in the film that really kind of gives me something to say, hey, people should look at this again with a new, fresh perspective, then I'll definitely do it as a retrospective. Next question is from Omar. Hi Ollie, hope you're well. I'm doing very well, sir. Question number 1, have you seen Us? If so, what did you think? Yes, I did see Us. I thought it was an okay film. It wasn't brilliant, it wasn't bad. I loved Get Out. I thought it was a wonderful film. I thought it was really kind of tense and kind of, nerve-wracking. The third act is. But Us, I wasn't that entertained by it. I mean, I thought some of its... the idea was a little bit loose and a bit flimsy about all these people living underground and stuff. I just don't think it really delivered on what it set out to do, or really make me believe in the idea that the director was telling. Yes, I didn't find it scary. I thought the score was very good and the performances are wonderful, but I didn't think it was that special. Question number 2, what did you think of San Diego's Comic-Con? Was there a standout moment that made you excited? I mean, I don't really watch that many things that come out of those Comic-Cons. I watch some of the trailers that get put out, and there's one particular film that we'll be discussing a bit later. But I saw the new trailers. I think look quite interesting. The Jay and Silent Bob remake, I'm quite intrigued to see. I mean, the Marvel Phase 4 sort of thing, all the films lined up, 80% of them I was just like, I'm not interested in these movies. I'm just not. Doctor Strange, seems pretty cool. Blade, meh. I mean, I want Wesley Snipes, but he can't, he's too old. But it was like this, when you're seeing that Phase 4 thing, it's like you're at like a business meeting, like investors sort of standing around just kind of watching them do this kind of pie chart of stuff, and just like, it just seemed a bit stale and a bit cold. Comic-Cons in general, I've kind of lost a lot of interest in them now, because once you've been to one, you've kind of been to all of them. The same sellers and dealers always turning up, and there's always kind of overpriced things. It ends up being like a forbidden planet that's kind of like the stores just kind of surrounded you. All the stuff you can buy online anyway, probably at a cheaper price from Amazon. I like to go into the Comic-Cons where you've got like sellers there who have a huge film collection they're kind of selling, who deal in that stuff. I want to buy like old film programs for a movie or press kits and stuff. I don't want to go there and buy, or just be surrounded by pop vinyl figures, video games, brand new, priced at 50 quid, or Blu-rays priced at 30 or 25 pounds. I'm like, no, that's not a Comic-Con, But go back to the San Diego thing, it's, if I went there and, queued up to see a trailer that ended up being on YouTube an hour later, I'd be like, why did I queue for 2 hours and spend all this money? Because, I don't really see the novelty of that anymore. But there is some comic conventions I do want to go to, but ones that aren't part of this, I don't know, the same recycled thing. There's a one I went to about 6 months ago that was in London. It's hotel, people selling old movie posters and press kits and stuff. I went with Mark O'Connell and my friend Michael. And it was a great experience, It had a couple of ladies from the Bond film signing autographs. Julian Glover was there, So that was fun. I like more of those things, kind of smaller ones, not the ones that are so big it just becomes unbearable. Question number 3, are you going to do any more James Bond commentaries? Yes, I will be, Omar. I keep saying this every bloody month. I always say, oh, I'm going to be doing this, I'm doing that. But Mark O'Connell, who I'm doing the James Bond commentaries with, and the Star Wars ones for New Hope, Empire and Jedi, he's based in London, and now I've moved to Norwich. I've come a bit further away. And Mark's now just gone on holiday for a couple of weeks to, I think, California. So he will be back. When he comes back, I'll make sure they're done, because most of August for me is kind of a bit of a quiet time. So because I've done a lot of the work on the action documentary, I can now focus back on YouTube. Thankfully, I'm not burnt out. I can still continue doing stuff. I've got a couple of commentaries that will be going up in the next couple of weeks. I mean, for Patreon guys, they'll be up probably tomorrow from this video is posted. There'll be a Last Crusade commentary with Brad Watson, who came back to see me last week. But yeah, James Bond will continue. I'm not sure if it's going to be sort of from the beginning, like Dr. No, and working my way forward. I know Mark was like, I want to do View to a Kill, you know, and he loves that movie, and a lot of people don't like it. So I'm just kind of sort of figure out what's best to do it from the beginning and work our way forward, or just do random ones. Because sometimes, you know, when you do like a particular series, people are more interested in the one that comes down the line. So you end up, you know, people aren't really interested in the first batch. So I'm kind of decided with Mark what to do at that stage. Okay, next question is from Mark. Hey Oliver, I was wondering if you'd ever considered making more retrospectives of animated films. I know it's not the kind of thing you usually do, but I've seen you make retros of Mask of the Phantasm, Akira and Transformers the movie. So I was wondering if you ever considered doing any more in the near future. Yes, Mark, there's 2 films I want to cover. Watership Down and Disney's Robin Hood. Obviously, I remember I said to people many times, like Ghost in the Shell, the animated movie, the manga, but because, I mean, this is a couple of years ago, doing anime like Akira, Ninja Scroll, and Street Fighter, the animated movie, there was issues with different companies claiming copyright, like companies in Italy, America, and parts of the UK, I believe. I got claims on like Akira from people in Japan. I thought, okay, well, they made the bloody movie. So I disputed it and they released it. I was like, great. Then an Italian company comes along and goes, oh, we own that. No, you fucking don't. You just distribute it in that region. Doesn't mean you kind of own the copyright on that movie. Well, they may do technically in some ways, but ultimately, it was released. It was claimed by the company that made it, released it, or distributed it in Japan. Then they released it. So I was like, there's too much kind of different companies claiming whatever with anime, especially. I know there's a lot of people that abused YouTube by basically just watching anime cartoons and doing commentaries for them. So they're doing like a picture-in-picture, like a reaction, and that's not fair use at all. I mean, that's just abuse of copyright. So that's kind of made it stricter on covering anime films in particular. But Disney stuff, I've never had any copyright claims from Disney. I'm actually quite relaxed with YouTube stuff from what I've seen. Even if you cover a Marvel movie or whatever, they never claim anything. I never had any claims from Marvel Studios or Disney in that regard. It's usually just music companies just grabbing anything they can. But yeah. Next question is from Nick. Question number 1, if you were to cover any films pre-1970, is there anything that comes to mind that would still feel relevant to your channel? Of course, Nick. 007, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Planet of the Apes, Body Snatchers. So yeah, there's quite a few, mainly sci-fi. I'm sure there's a couple of action movies in there, but yeah, I mean, you have to think, is enough assets available for me to do it? So in terms of like the film itself, behind the scenes material, press stuff, the soundtrack, that makes my job a lot easier. Because if there isn't, then it makes, it becomes very challenging to do it in the way I construct those videos and how people expect them to be presented. So yeah, there's still a number of films from the 60s that I would like to cover. I mean, I know I've just mentioned films from the 60s, but 50s is probably pushing it a little bit. And I mean, I don't think all my audience would be interested in that decade. Maybe particular movies that may, stand out. But in general, 60s is probably the cut-off point for me. Question number 2, with Second Sight Films preparing a highly anticipated Blu-ray set of 1978's Dawn of the Dead, I was curious to know if you have any plans on covering it in a retrospective form. I hope their release is fully comprehensive, but details are unknown right now. I have the Ultimate Edition DVD set, which is difficult to beat in that regard. I'm not sure, Nick, actually. I've never really been an expert on the George Romero films. You know, I'm a casual viewer. I enjoy them. I know bits of trivia about them. I mean, it's funny though, isn't it? Because the film itself was so difficult to get hold of for a while. I mean, when it came out with Arrow, did a DVD set. Did they ever do a Blu-ray? I can't remember. But it was such a common title. You get it so cheap, those collector's editions. Now they're just like gone through the roof because, you know, they've been out of print for so long. Even the Laserdisc box sets are so pricey. People overprice them. I mean, it's an overvalued film on the home video format, really. So I mean, if the set comes out and there's something really interesting in there, and I think the right point would be like October season to sort of cover Dawn of the Dead, then I would seriously consider doing it. I need to make a list still for October to see what films I want to cover, because I've promised people some films that I would do. So we'll see what happens. Next question is from Niall. Hi Oliver. Question number 1, will you be doing more retrospectives on an ongoing basis, or do you think you will now concentrate more on output like the last Action Doc? Once the Action Doc is finished, I will be going back to doing YouTube stuff on a regular basis. Last 2 months of things have been quite slow output with me. Maybe 3 months really, in terms of edited content. You know, commentaries are very easy to do in terms of just sit down, record it, and there you go. The downside of that is like audio commentaries, you've got to go through the entire audio, check for mistakes or blips in the audio. It's easy to do, but it's time consuming and boring. So with retrospectives, you know, I will be going back to doing more of those because I want to have a break from, you know, the documentary itself or documentary filmmaking and crowdfunding stuff for the time being, until I sort of focus on myself and, you know, see where things go. Things may change completely, you know, when the Action Doc comes out. I may get offered different positions or jobs to do something. I don't know. I mean, it's uncharted territory for me, you know, having a thing put out, like a feature-length thing with my name slapped on it as a director, you know. But I, in my mind, I want to go back and do more retrospectives because I miss doing those, and I miss kind of just the editing process, making those trailers, finding interesting stuff, and writing my thoughts on these movies. And I've kind of, that's, you know, fallen by the wayside because, you know, I'm a human being. I'm not a robot. I can't juggle too many things. So things will kind of go back to normal, you know, hopefully this month or early September. Question number 2. Also, if you could unwatch any movie and then watch it again so that you would enjoy it to the fullest, what would that film be? Well, I think most people would pick their favourite film, wouldn't they? You know, if I could just, you know, take out Superman the movie, Ghostbusters, whatever, or Terminator 2 out of my head, out of memory, and then rewatch them, that would be quite a good experience. But also you have the problem is that, would your experience change from when you saw these films as a child and they've kind of ingrained in your nostalgia and your experience at that time? So if you watch Terminator 2 now, you'd be like, yeah, it's pretty good. You know, I've seen, you know, other films have kind of done it better. I don't know. I mean, it's a strange experience where there's reward and risk involved. So, but yeah, you'd always just end up picking your favourite films. Next question is from Frederick. Hey Oliver, question number 1. Will there be more retrospectives on the Star Trek movies, especially those from the Next Generation era? Well, Fred, I did pick up the Star Trek box set not long ago because I had some of the films like individually because I picked them up second hand, like Star Trek like 5 and 2 and 3, whatever, from like, you know, CEX, whatever, in the UK, where they're like £2-3 each. But then I think it was Xavier HMV were doing this for like £12 or 15 quid for all the Star Trek movies, from the originals to Generation films. So I will be doing more Star Trek in future. Question number 2, what do you think about all those streaming services coming out? Don't you think people will get fed up having to subscribe to multiple different services just to have access to the shows/movies they want? I discussed streaming services last month, I believe, or the month before. So I've kind of discussed it in detail in terms of too many services available. I think people will just end up limiting themselves to 1 or 2 or 3 at max, because, you know, it's frustrating when you see a film series. They've got, you know, let's say for example, they've got Rocky 1 and 2 on Netflix, but Rocky 3 and 4 on Amazon or something. You know, that's the annoying thing. So, I mean, Disney's going to be launching theirs soon. I don't think the Warner Brothers one, cartoon or DC streaming one, hasn't done very well. So people have told me. But at the moment, I'm comfortable with just two. I've got Now TV, which combines all the sort of satellite channels in the UK into one app, and then there's Netflix. I'm not part of Amazon Prime. I'm still kind of debating about that because it'd be nice to have the sort of super fast, postage service, like order it there, the car arrives the following day, But then it's it's like £80. What was it? Was it £80 a year? Was it more? Can't remember. Maybe I might do it at some point. But then that'll be 3 streaming services I'm using. I mean, if the Disney one's really interesting, because they've got lots of 20th Century Fox's assets and library of stuff, and if you've got all the Simpsons on there, you've got all the X-Files on there, plus you've got Disney stuff like maybe old cartoons, or that they're kind of, I think it's Touchstone distribution, or their sort of adult movies kind of distributor. I've had those films on there, then maybe I'll be like, oh my god, I've got to get that service. But it may be different for each country. If you're in America, you may get more options with the Disney network, and then in the UK, because they've already done deals with those other streaming services to have those movies for X amount of months, then those films won't be available on the Disney network until that time is done. That's the problem. When one company has licensed out all their content to all these services and they want to do their own, all that stuff's got to be pulled back over a certain number of months, and then all those other streaming services will lose that catalogue and have to find something else. It's all a bit of a bugger's muddle. So, I mean, just stick to, 1 or 2 services. Don't blow your bank account, subscribing to 4 or 5. Next question is from Andrew. I'll be blunt and cut to the chase. Top Gun 2 trailer. Discuss. Well, as I mentioned earlier about the sort of San Diego Comic-Con stuff, yes, Top Gun 2 trailer, Maverick, or Top Gun Maverick, isn't it? Looks incredible. Absolutely incredible. What a wonderful teaser. Great music as well, with Harold Faltermeyer returning and Hans Zimmer helping out. It was just, Harold can do it fine. He's scored loads of films in the 80s. Doesn't need to be partnered up anyway. But in-camera stuff, there's no CGI from what I can see. Seeing Tom Cruise in that fighter jet and seeing him, signal, then he sort of turns it on, whatever, and he just flies off the Harrier landing pad. And it's all in camera. You can see the force on that speed. I'm really excited to see it. Hopefully, Top Gun, the first movie is great because of the music, the visuals, but as a story, Top Gun doesn't really have much of a story. It's quite thin. And, it's nostalgic for a number of reasons because of the music and the visuals and Tom Cruise as well. And it's it's got some great lines in it, but as a strong narrative, it's a bit wonky. Hopefully, Top Gun 2 will be, I think, a stronger story put forward, something more dramatic. The death of Goose, spoilers, upset my sisters when they were kids, and but yeah, that's probably the sort of the emotional core of that film is his friendship with Goose Mavericks. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the sequel. Directed by the guy who did Tron Legacy and Oblivion, so there's no doubt in my mind the film will look stunning. I just hope the story is really fucking good. The final question is from Lee. With the moderate success of Pokemon Detective Pikachu, I think it did around 430 million worldwide, do you think video game movies would ever be big and popular enough to break the top highest grossing films, similar to comic book movies in recent years? I don't see why not. Time is not ending in a few years. In, say, 5-10 years, there'll be a particular movie, I don't know, maybe based on Fortnite or something, or something else that's really kind of big at the moment. I don't know. That may, do numbers similar to a particular Marvel film, like do $1 billion worldwide. But yeah, Pikachu, I never saw it, but the reviews are very strong. People liked the character and they like the voice of Ryan Reynolds, and it seemed to sort of capture an audience, and it's sort of done well. I think if you treat the source material with respect and do a slight change on it that appeals and works in a movie narrative, then you should be onto the races and should do well. As we've seen in the past with Super Mario Brothers, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat obviously did well and it got received well by critics. but generally most were shit. So it's often handled by writers and directors who aren't really that interested in the source material. They're sort of trying to shift it to be something else. So yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that a video game movie can be very successful and do good numbers. Pikachu is a prime example. Maybe with the changes to Sonic, and how he looks will be vastly improved, and the film comes out and it may do very, very well. Sonic is still very popular, which is surprising because the games have been shit for years. I mean, Sonic Mania is wonderful, and Sonic Generations I loved, but most have just been pretty shit. I mean, I think the best thing about Sonic that's came out is Sonic Mania. That's the game that should have been on a Sega Saturn, in the mid to late 90s. That would have been the perfect Sonic game for after Sonic 3 or Sonic and Knuckles. But yeah, there's I'm sure there'll be one day a film that does extremely well. We just don't know which one it's going to be. Well, everyone, that is the end of the Q&A. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all have a great week, and you look out for the Last Crusade commentary coming soon if you're a patron on the $8 tier. And Ninja Turtles will be hopefully finished this week. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be done. I don't have anything else coming up in my way that's going to stop me from finishing it. So yes, hopefully look forward to that by the end of the week. Okay, everyone, take care and goodbye.